Hello everyone and welcome to my first Stargate character video. However, don't expect this video to be a model for future character videos. While doing some research for a possible lore topic, I found this absolute gem of a character named Sobek, and I just can't help myself. So starting off with the title, what do I mean by the Shaak T of Stargate? Well, if you don't know, Shaak T is a Jedi in Star Wars who was a somewhat popular meme a while ago, in that she died 3 different times. I don't mean she died, came back to life, died again, or had a fake out death. She has 3 different versions of her final death. The first was in a deleted scene of Revenge of the Sith where she's killed by General Grievous before Order 66.
Stinking Jedi.
In the second, during Order 66, she's killed by Anakin, which is like 3 different variations to it. And finally, after Order 66 in the video game Star Wars The Force Unleashed, where she is killed by Darth Vader's secret apprentice, Starkiller. So what does this have to do with Sobek? Well, like Shaak T, he also has 3 different versions of his death. Now, Sobek isn't the only character in Stargate to have died and come back to life. Daniel, Apophis, and Carson come to mind. And you could read his quote-unquote deaths as happening in a somewhat chronological order and them just really being fake-out deaths, but I think it's more funny the fact that every time Sobek got a story, it basically ended with his death, and given that it takes place in 3 different mediums, the show, a comic, and a novel, I could think of this as Sobek's 3 different variations of his death. So, in general, who was Sobek? What kind of system lord was he? Well, a pretty poor one at that. He only ever held the minimum amount of territory necessary to even be considered a system lord. And in an attempt to expand his dominion, he tried to take a world under the control of the system lord Bastet. Bastet and her ally Kali pretty much wiped the floor with him until he sued for peace. And during these celebratory feasts, Bastet and Kali turned on him and he was swiftly executed. Supposedly, Sobek's head now decorates Bastet's palace. You won't think I'm kidding, but they actually say that in the show.
Rumor has it, his head still decorates Bastet's palace in Mubastas.
Sobek's second death was depicted in the book Siren's Song, in which Sobek made his way to the Imperii homeworld, seeking control of a parasite trapped in the chamber on the planet. He sent the bounty hunter Erich Balk to capture SG-1 so he can get his hands on Daniel Jackson and use him to open the chamber. Eventually, he had to resort to using Daniel as a new host so he could use Daniel's linguistic knowledge to get into the chamber. However, due to a number of factors, including the parasite in the chamber affecting both him and Daniel, Sobek's need to keep Daniel's conscience more active than his own so he could use Daniel's more subtle nuances of his linguistic knowledge, Sobek's own age, and Sobek's lack of a sarcophagus to properly heal, forced Sobek to leave Daniel's body, leading to his death. Sobek's third death was shown in the second part of the Stargate comic, Stargate Daniel Jackson. Specifically in a flashback where we learn during a war between the System Lords, Sobek made his way to an ancient planet in search of a treasure. He sent his first prime and a group of Jaffa to the surface to break into the temple. When that failed, Sobek used the main weapon on his ship to make an opening. This instead caused the temple to collapse and activated a giant android guardian named Koltath, who proceeded to fire on Sobek's ships with his sword, killing Sobek in the process. So that's all the ways Sobek has died. If you wanted to create a sort of canon timeline, I believe it would go comic, show, book, although the comic is unconfirmed canon, so if you didn't want to count it, there you go. The book is canon, though I know some people don't consider the books canon, so whether or not you want to is kind of up to you. Regardless, those are the 3 ways Sobek has died. Since we've been dogging on Sobek, I decided let's talk about the one timeline where he kind of comes out on top. This timeline comes from a trilogy of books known as the Stargate SG-1 Apocalypse Trilogy. In this trilogy, SG-1 is sent almost 100 years into the future due to an accident with the gate. This was before Jack could help expose the NID operation, and as a result, Earth's allies abandoned her, right as Apophis showed up and conquered the planet. And if that wasn't bad enough, the Wraith found a way from Pegasus to the Milky Way and have launched a full invasion. They now control a sizable portion of the galaxy, with the Goa'uld being the only real resistance left to Wraith domination of the Milky Way galaxy. So since literally everything is terrible, Sobek is actually doing pretty well for himself. He's not an independent system lord anymore, but an underling to a more powerful system lord named Kun. Where Sobek did fall out of favor with him at one point, he did manage to get back into his good graces, and was even sent to the Pegasus Galaxy with the aims of creating something as a favor from Kun to another system lord named Atlas, in exchange for some favors. That's pretty much it for Sobek in this timeline. There is this thing called Stargate Resurgence, which I think is supposed to be a continuation of Apocalypse, but I can't find what the source is for the page, and I'm 90% sure it's like a fan-created thing. And that is Sobek, the Shaak T of Stargate. What do you all think about him? Would you like to see him in the show properly, or do you like him kind of as this background character? And would you like to see him as like this major threat, or more like a Goa'uld who's really trying but just can't get there?